Welcome to Hail the Queen, a podcast about authenticity, happiness, and pursuing your dreams. My name is Rayna and I am your host. And this is our first episode. My guest today is Mr. Brad Yates. Brad is the EFT wizard. EFT as in emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. He's worked with people like Jack Canfield and Gabby Bernstein, but above all, Jack, Brad is a very, very kind human being with extensive expertise in tapping, which happens to be a very simple, very effective tool that helps us overcome self sabotage. And this is what the conversation is about: self sabotage, what tapping is, and how to use tapping to overcome self sabotage. We talk about comfort zone, we talk about stress. And at the end of our conversation, we also do an amazing Hail the Queen tapping. So, if nothing else from this conversation, which I doubt, so if you don't take anything else, again, I doubt that you won't. But if nothing else, then I hope that at least you do the tapping and experience the benefits of it, especially when you do tapping with an expert like Brad. I also hope that you would check the link in the description of this episode and read my behind the scenes on my interview with Brad. I also hope that you would share this episode. I hope that you would subscribe. I hope that you would leave a review. But above all, I hope that you would enjoy my conversation with Brad. So, without further ado, episode number one and my conversation with Brad Yates. So, we're live, and I am talking to Brad Yates, the EFT wizard. Welcome to Hail the Queen.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Me too, and I have a whole lot of questions for you.
I
We
hope I
briefly
have some
talked.
answers.
I'm quite certain you do. Um, let's start with EFT. That's emotional freedom techniques. Can
Hmm.
you, for the people who don't know what that is, can you give it like EFT for dummies?
Absolutely. So, EFT, emotional freedom techniques, as you said, and a lot of us also just call it tapping because it is literally a process of tapping with our fingertips on key places, primarily on our face and torso. And I know for folks who may be new to this, that sounds a little strange, and you might say, why on earth would I do that? And let me explain. So it was originated based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's a flow of energy through the body along pathways called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well being, physically and emotionally. When this energy gets stuck, we don't feel so good. And when we don't feel good, we don't make the best choices, and that has unfortunate consequences for our lives. So, in traditional Chinese medicine, the doctor would stick needles in these key points to stimulate that healthy flow of energy. And we're just using our fingertips to stimulate those same points to do that. And we have a growing body of modern research showing the effectiveness of tapping, particularly as a stress relief technique. So, if you thought of tapping and EFT as nothing more than stress relief, you could see why it's so beneficial in so many areas of life because most of the issues we face are either caused by or worsened by stress.
Mm.
So, as we use this process to downregulate the stress, we naturally feel better, we naturally think more clearly, we make better choices, and so our lives get much better.
And would you say that stress is usually the sort of the entry point for people to discover EFT?
In one of its forms, yeah, most of the uncomfortable emotions that we feel have stress behind it. And so people come to EFT for all kinds of different issues. It may just be feeling anxious. It may be feeling sad about some unfortunate thing that has happened. A lot of people come to it because they're looking to have greater success. They want to make more money, they want to be healthier.
Mhm.
And when we're trying to make changes in our lives, there's a part of us that feels stress. It's
Yeah.
like we our body likes things to be normal, the same. Our part of our brain is designed to keep us right where we're comfortable, where we're familiar. That's why we call it the comfort zone.
Oh
So
yeah.
even though it may not be wonderful, it may be far from ideal, but part of it says, yes, but it's what we know. If I
Yeah.
know being overweight, if I know being broke and just barely making it, if I know being in crappy relationships, part of me says, yeah, but we don't want to mess with that because we've already got this figured out. Let's just stick with what we know. So when we try to make changes, we try to change our diet, we try to get on an exercise plan, we try to get a better job, we try to improve our career, all these things, part of our brain says, ooh, warning, that's bad. And we have a stress response and we stop ourselves.
Yeah.
So this calms that down so we can say, wait a minute, it would be okay if I allowed myself to be more empowered, if I allowed myself to be healthier, if I allowed myself to have more money.
It's so interesting you say that because the moment I saw you do this and you seem so comfortable when you go tapping, now, and before I discovered TFT that it actually works, I had a few moments where people referred me to EFT, and the moment I saw what it was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. Like there is no way. So so I felt like let's just get this out of the way. Yes, it looks silly, but it works. Um, and there was also a part of me. Perhaps it's good to give you a little bit of background how I actually the story of how I actually came up to discover you. It was a few years ago when I was with a couple of friends, and we were having lunch, and it was right after we had visited one of those personal development seminars, and we were like, yay, 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 yay. And um, and one of my friends, we had started a business at the same time. We're in the same industry. And then I remember she was in the middle of the kitchen of my friend, and she was like, oh, there's this guy on YouTube when I do tapping with him. And she referred actually, she meant you. And I remember she stood there so comfortable. She was like, you just do this and you say that. And she started tapping. And I was like, just looking at her. And I went, my whole body was like, no, 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 no. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to check it out, by myself, because I'm not going to do this in front of people.
Right.
And I went home. I didn't check it. I forgot it, or I wanted to forget it. And then last year, a couple of months ago, I was doing therapy for a childhood trauma. And after one of the sessions, I was home and I had difficulties falling asleep. And it was 2 or 3 in the morning, and I just couldn't fall asleep. And I felt so tired, but I couldn't sleep. And I remember sitting in my living room on the couch drinking tea. And I remember I don't feel safe. And somehow all of a sudden, I remembered your name. Like that was a couple of years, and I remembered your name. And I remembered my friend saying, tapping with Brad Yates. So I went online, and on YouTube, of course, I looked up your name. I entered safety. It came a video, and as I was doing that, I could feel my body by the end of the video.
Yeah.
And it was in that instant that I went from like, where's the proof? What's the science? It looks silly. All the things that I had in my mind to,
Right.
oh my God, this works.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know what that question here is. I guess I was just fascinated, especially
Yeah.
because, when I talk to people and we always look for the proof of tell me why I should believe you, you know? Um,
Yeah. And it's interesting. I get that. People will ask all the time, well, where's the research? and I'll say, well, it's right here. And I'll guide them because there's a growing body of research. It's really impressive with chemical studies. For instance, they've done studies on cortisol levels. So, cortisol is one of the stress hormones. And they've done double blind, gold standard research with, you know, control groups. And the group doing the tapping, cortisol levels drop by an average of about 24%. And when the first study they did with this, the results were so staggering that the lab technicians threw out the first batch thinking that something had gone wrong because they didn't believe that tapping had been that effective. Recalibrated machines, ran it again, same thing. That study has been replicated. They have fMRI studies now, so brain scans showing where parts of the brain light up. Um, the first one was done with food cravings. So when people were looking at food they craved, and you could see where the brain activity was lighting up. And then after a series of tapping, showing people the same pictures of those foods that they craved under the inside the machine, and those parts of the brain weren't lighting up anymore. So
Hmm.
for decades now, there are many of us who have been tapping. It's like even before there was research, we just knew, oh yeah, I feel this makes a difference. I know that I feel better. I feel more relaxed. I know that my resistance to taking action is gone. uh, with myself and with other people, seeing things like, well, to be more successful, I need to take this action, but I really don't want to take that action. And doing some tapping, and I'm able to take that action. So many of us already just felt that relief, as you said in your story. And that's a great story of how you came around that. Uh, but now it is really beneficial to have scientific validation of, yeah, it's not just people deciding, okay, it makes me feel better, and it's just a placebo, and I just think I feel better. We have ways of measuring things in the body showing that there are positive changes taking place while we're doing the process.
And what would you say is the real cause, the true cause for people not wanting to believe, um, be it EFT or something else? Because uh, you know that that change, that shift from literally one video of non-believer to believer. I didn't read any science. I didn't have any
Yeah.
proof that it works or not. I did it and it worked. um but it's not only with EFT, and it's with so many things that we hear this will help. Is that the comfort zone you're talking about?
Absolutely. And it's so interesting, when people say, well, I need to see the research first, because it's like, really? How many things do you do on a daily basis that you've never bothered to ask about the research? How many things do you do on a daily basis that the research will say you should not do? you know, there's plenty of evidence, plenty of research about why we should not be eating so much sugar. And yet the same person who's sitting there, eating several candy bars a day will go, yeah, well, show me the research about EFT. It's like, you're not interested in research. You're looking for a reason to not do it. And it's true of EFT. It's true of so many things. We want to come up with some reason why we shouldn't do it, because it means change. If I do this process, especially when we see the benefits of something like tapping, part of us says, if I do that, that means I'm going to be leaving my comfort zone. And so I'm going to find all kinds of reasons why I'm not going to do it. Now, the unfortunate thing for tapping is that it does look a little silly. And so that makes it much easier for people to say, I'm not going to do it. Uh, People could say that about yoga. There's all kinds of things that they'll say, it looks silly, and so that's why I'm not going to do it, even though it can have profound benefits in our lives. So what I find when people leave comments on my YouTube channel saying this doesn't work or this is the stupidest thing ever, and it's really funny because, really, did you read the other comments of all the people who are saying, "Oh my goodness, this has changed my life. This is saving my life. This is so." The one person who says this doesn't work, is because that's the person who's most afraid that it might work. If they were really, if it was really of no interest, why would they bother to leave a message? It's
Yeah.
that's the person who is afraid, if I do this and if I agree to it, I have to face changes in my life. And they may be positive changes, but our mind experiences stress. The body mind experiences stress, even if it's a wonderful thing. Like getting married, having children, buying a new house are all very positive things, but they are also some of the most stressful things. So we have a stress response even to wonderful things. So there's a part of us that says, I don't want to deal with that stress. So I'm going to
Mm.
find reasons why I couldn't or shouldn't do it. Either I'll say there's not enough research, uh, even though I may realize logically I don't care about the research because I don't bother with the research in anything else that I do in my life. Um, or I'll just somehow forget to do it. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna look that up as soon as I get home. I'm gonna look that up, and then I get home, and I part of me finds ways to avoid it. We brilliantly find ways to avoid things that are going to cause us stress, even if we know at some level that it would be positive.
Yeah. You know, the comfort zone, and you know that change, that you talk about, how scary it can be. Um, I remember when I was doing the therapy, and um, my therapist was explaining to me things that I know intellectually, but she was showing me in real life what actually comfort zone is. Because, you know, I always thought of comfort zone as, oh, I'm afraid of talking to strangers. Then okay, I'll stop someone on the street and I'll talk to them, for instance. But
Hmm.
she actually showed me what comfort zone really is. The example I have was, in a situation I don't really remember right now the details of, and she said, "Well, the way you say it now, you say it like a little hurt child. I want you to say it now as a grown-up woman who is in charge of her life." And I heard the words, and I was sitting there, and I was looking at the little doll she was using, and I knew exactly the words I needed to say, and I knew how to say them, and I just couldn't open my mouth to say the words the way she wanted me
Yeah.
to. And for me, that was such a eye-opening moment. And that's when she said, you know, this is the comfort zone, and the real purpose is to learn to step outside that comfort zone, because you're here talking the way you talk because that helps you in a way.
And the key thing is, so often we beat ourselves up about these things. Like, oh, I'm afraid of talking to strangers. I'm such a loser. Or I do this. I don't, you know, I don't make enough money. I'm not in good shape. And we criticize ourselves. We judge ourselves for these places where we're not as successful as we think we should be. And we want to be compassionate with ourselves, because the reason we've developed that comfort zone over years based on misunderstandings, based on situations that have happened that felt dangerous, that felt unsafe, that felt painful. And very often in our much younger mind, we decided, oh, this is an unsafe situation for me. I need to make sure this doesn't happen again. And so we build up our lives and our behavior based on that, trying to keep ourselves safe. So
Mm.
that's the whole purpose of the comfort zone. Is our prime directive is to preserve ourselves, to keep ourselves safe. So I like to say that self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love.
Hmm.
We're just trying to protect ourselves. So when you find yourself not doing what you think you should do in order to have a better life, allow yourself to go, okay, I'm stopping myself in order to protect myself. It's not that I'm bad or stupid or weak or lazy. I just have old programming telling me that this is how I need to be safe in the world. So being compassionate with yourself, even when you're doing something crazy like avoiding EFT, you know, something that just makes no sense at all. It's look at it's like, oh, I'm not stupid for not tapping. I'm just trying to protect myself because part of me says if I try tapping, if I do it on a regular basis, it's going to create change in my life, and that doesn't feel safe.
Which brings me back to the name of EFT, emotional freedom. Um, do you think that people know what they need to be free from? Do you think they're aware in some way?
Sometimes and sometimes not. Most, I think maybe most people are walking around unaware of what's possible. We live far below our capabilities, and what's possible for us is beyond that. But we keep ourselves from knowing that, and we look around at other people who don't know that. You know, we tend to be around people who live at about the same level, and we're all like, yeah, yeah, I don't have much money, yeah, I don't have much money either, well, that's just the way it is. And so we create a group comfort zone,
Mm,
and not only then are we being told that, yeah, we shouldn't expect much more, but we also then feel guilty if we start to do better. So it's like, well, if I start to realize I could be more successful, I could have a better life. Yeah, but my friends, well, they'll be jealous. So I don't want them to be jealous of me. All right, I'll just stay put. So we find all kinds of brilliant ways to keep ourselves in that same place. And it's all based on our emotions. These uncomfortable emotions, fear, doubt, guilt, shame, sadness, uh, they we want to avoid those, and so we keep ourselves from doing those things that create that. And when we feel those things, they stop us. So emotional freedom techniques is because we give ourselves emotional freedom. We're not confined by those uncomfortable emotions. So often when we feel anger or sadness or guilt or shame, it's just, oh, well, that's, I'm just crushed into that feeling. I have no choice but to feel that. I have to feel that. It's like,
mm.
no, you have the freedom to feel something different. You have the freedom to feel joy. You have the freedom to feel peace and love.
As I'm listening to you, that story or metaphor, I'm not sure anymore, of the frog and the hot water comes to my mind. That I think it was even an experiment that if you put frog in hot water, it would jump out, but if you put it in cold water and you turn on the heat, you would boil it to death, because the change happens gradually and the frog doesn't react to it. And I'm thinking that that's what actually happens with our emotions as well, right? We
Yes.
get used to the discomfort and we become feeling comfortable in a place which is actually uncomfortable.
Yep. Yep.
So
We get used to it.
do you think that you can get from that place by yourself, or do we always need someone to point out what's possible?
It's hard to say. There's all kinds of different things that motivate people. Sometimes people just feel inspired by something they see or they hear. For other people, they need to get hit upside the head with a 2x4 with by reality. They have to wake up. Some people need an intervention from loved ones saying, look, your life is messed up, you need to do something. This happens a lot with addiction. People, they, after the 35th time that they've woken up in their own vomit on the floor, and they realize, all right, I think I've done this enough and now I need to get help. uh, for most of us, hopefully it's not that drastic, but we just get a recognition of, what, this isn't everything that I want, and I think that I'm capable of more. And there is a lot that we can do on our own. That's why I put the videos out on YouTube, is so that a lot of people can get help easily. I It's very beneficial when we work with somebody, because we often don't see our own blind spots, because that's how we brilliantly keep ourselves in our comfort zone. It's like, here's what I need to do. I can't see that. So it's sometimes helpful to have someone else who can pull that hand away and say, yes, you need to look over here. Here's what you're missing. We can all benefit from having coaches and counselors who help us to see those things that are difficult for us to see, and many of these things we shouldn't look at on our own. It can be that uncomfortable, and so it's helpful to have someone there for emotional support as we look at those things that we may need to address in order to get to the life that we really deserve.
And I'm thinking of, um, the getting comfortable in the comfort zone, and uh, what you said earlier, that we have those excuses, which are actually very handy because they keep us in a place that we feel safe.
Right.
Um, because I often have conversations with people about dreams they have, about starting their own business, about making a career change. And it's so interesting to see how people often focus on how to do that. And usually the how is, I'll change my website. I need to hire someone to help me with my social media. Um, and that's where usually I hear a lot of uh, the so-called labels like I'm procrastinating, I'm lazy, I am this, I am that.
Yeah.
How can EFT help in this situation? How can you use EFT in such a situation to, well, first to recognize that there is something going on,
Yeah.
which has nothing to do with social media. Sorry to interrupt you.
Right. Those are all just ways of blocking change. They're all distractions that we have. In most cases, we are not lazy. I don't believe in lazy. It's just a clever name we give for fear. We're not lazy. We're afraid. We're afraid of change, and so we find ourselves looking for things to distract ourselves. And so social media has given us a wonderful distraction to keep ourselves stuck. It's like, oh no, I'm going to write that book. I'm going to make those phone calls. I just have to check my Facebook feed. I need to see what everybody else is having for lunch before I can really allow myself to pursue my dreams. And again, it's not to beat ourselves up for that. It's to allow ourselves to recognize, okay, I'm trying to take care of myself, and then labeling ourselves as lazy or something like that, coming up with some sort of identity and saying, well, see, I don't even have a choice because that's just who I am, which is nonsense. Because what if we had said, when we were just a baby, well, I just don't walk, I'm a crawler, that's just who I am. There's We haven't, we can say, well, I can't do this because I haven't done this before. This is not true, because most of what we do as adults, there was a time that we didn't do before. We're talking online across countries. It's like, we didn't do this before, so how is, there's always something new that we can do. So we brilliantly find ways to try to convince ourselves of these things. So, and again, what causes the change? For some of the people watching this right now, this interview may be the thing that causes the change, as people might recognize, oh, yeah, I probably am in a comfort zone. There is something more possible. It may be watching a documentary, seeing a movie, reading a book, hearing a story from a friend. What inspires us, who knows what might be that key that makes us say, I'm living below my potential. There's something more that feels worthwhile. And uh, and and the how, you know we'll often say, well, I don't know how to do it. If I only knew how to do it. It's like, are you aware of this thing called Google? You could just type in how to, and it'll give you 1,001 answers to how to do even the most specific thing. But we brilliantly stop ourselves from checking Google. It's like, yeah, I don't know how. And then we'll find friends who say, yeah, do you know how? No, I don't know how to do it either. And I don't know how to do this. Well, yeah, boy, man, if we knew how to do it, we would just rock the boat. We would knock it out of the ballpark. Oh, well. And it's all, again, it's brilliantly keeping ourselves stuck in our comfort zone. So most of us we're just too smart for our own good.
I like that. I also like a metaphor you used to describe this in an interview with you, where you said that it's like a room in our house um, that when we open it, there's so much mess in it, and then we like, do I want to open it? Do I want to close it? Of course, that's not a conscious choice. We're not aware that we're making this choice. So if we open it
Right.
and clean it up, it has so much more space, but we need to clean it up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And who
it's
wants
not
to
a
clean? No one likes to clean, or most of us don't like to clean. So it's
no.
like, so we open that door, we see it's like, I'll deal with that later. And then we just forget about it. And part of it says, don't look over there. We're fine. We're fine right where we are. Don't there's no door, there's no room over there. Ignore that smell. There's no smell. There's nothing. No, you're fine. You're fine. Go check your Facebook feed.
Yeah.
And it's all
Or
just
work
trying to
on your
keep us
Facebook
safe.
feed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
Yeah.
um, I have a question for you. During my therapy, I was very active tapping with your videos. How many videos do you have on your YouTube channel?
I have over 1,000 videos now.
Over 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
don't know the
found
exact
numbers
number.
like 600, 700, but 1,000. Wow, that's a lot. And so one of those videos that I came across was tapping for big goals. And
Yeah.
the example you gave is a goal you had of your own, and that was to have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And
Correct.
you just gave that as an example. Again, I remember when I heard that, and I felt my whole body like, "Ee!" Like 1 million. Um, and that was a very interesting moment for me because I remember I even forgot what my own big goal was in that moment. But when I heard you, I was like, and then you said, even if you don't have a big goal that comes to your mind right now, just use mine because you would still you would get a lot of insights from that. And just that that reaction in my body for me was such a huge realization that when I hear something like this and how my body reacts, like, ooh, it's too much. Let's keep it smaller. Like,
Right.
let's keep it smaller.
Right.
Um, so my question for you is, because I checked today and you don't have 1 million YouTube followers
Not
yet.
yet.
Do you still tap on that goal of yours?
It's funny you mentioned that. I haven't tapped specifically on that.
Hmm.
I because I'm still doing different things that are all moving me in that direction.
Hmm.
So so the point of a goal is to figure out where you want to go, but then it's a matter of what are the things you need to do to get there. So and the reason I bring that up is because sometimes we just think about a particular goal and we don't think about the action steps. I
Hmm.
go, boy, I'd love to have $1 million. I'd love to have $1 million. And we can sit there and talk about that every day, but we have to actually be doing work and creating,
Hmm.
being of service in the world and doing those things that bring in $1 million as opposed to just focusing on that. So the goal is out there of the million followers, subscribers on YouTube. Now it's okay, what do I need to do in order to get there? And so on a daily basis, I work on clearing my resistance to taking action, those actions that move me
Hmm.
forward towards that.
And because one of the things that I thought of is that, sometimes when you have a goal, you actually realize, well, that's not what I truly want.
Right. Excellent point.
And so that's something which I'm very curious about. How and since you're an expert in recognizing when somebody is staying in their comfort zone, being afraid of reaching out for their potential, how do you recognize when it's something you you don't really want, it doesn't align with who you are, and when it's something you're afraid of?
So, what I say to folks is when you have that goal, clear your resistance to moving towards it. So, you know, whatever it might be, do what you can to move towards it. And it's a win win situation. Two things are possible. Either one, you're going to find out, yeah, this is what I really want. Or
Mm.
by moving towards it, you'll realize, no, this isn't what I really want. I really want this. But we may not get to that place of seeing what we really want until we start moving forward. So Gary Craig, the founder of EFT, had a statement. He said, "Dreams don't always come true, but they always take you in directions." So by pursuing that dream, you get to a place where you can see things that you didn't otherwise know. So for me, my dream was to be an actor. Uh, I mean, I was an actor. I was a professional actor, and when was touring the world doing theater, and I decided now it's time to go to Hollywood and be a movie star. And that's what led me to meeting my wife and getting into personal development work. And it led me to this career, which, as much as I loved acting, this is what was my true calling. I don't know.
Mm.
Everything that I did as an actor led me to where I'm at in my personal development career. So we get to a place of recognizing it's there's something else that I feel more drawn to. When I if I had just left acting without knowing what else I wanted to do, then it would have been out of fear. But it was not. But it was a matter of no, this is really what I want, and so going in a new direction. So that's where we get to is we can see, and I do this with folks with a lot of other things like uh, being in a relationship. And I'm not sure if it's the right relationship. It's like, well, see how you feel, and you'll allow yourself to let go of the need for it. So we often have a goal and we say, well, I need to have this happen. Well, if you get
Mm.
stuck in the sense of need, then you're not going to allow yourself to be aware of what you truly want. It's going to feel like it's forced on you. So when you get to the place of being able to say, I could let this go, but I don't want to, then we know it's not about fear. Then it's really about desire.
So as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking of our conversation, if I would sum it up in just one sentence, it would be: keep going. If you're not going, there is some resistance. Clear that resistance. Be kind to yourself along the way. And EFT is a great way to help you with clearing that resistance. Would that be it?
It's the simplest
It
way of dealing with resistance that I know. Yeah, that is a great summation of it is, if you look at what you think you want and go for it. And if you're not, I there's a quote from the Roman philosopher Epictetus, who said, "First decide what you want to be, and then do what you have to do. And if you're not doing what you have to do, then tap." That's my addition to his quote. If you're not doing,
I'm just going to ask, did
this is
he say end tab?
yeah. Boy, wouldn't it be awesome if we found that's what he said? Um, but yeah, decide what you want to be or what you want to be, do, or have. Then do what you have to do. If you're not doing it, there's resistance. There's a great book,
Yeah.
Stephen Pressfield, I think, the War of Art, and he talks about resistance is the big
I
bad.
just read that book.
No coincidences whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's always an energetic connection. That must be why it came up. Uh, and yeah, it's all about the resistance. So if only there was a way of dealing with resistance. Because that resistance comes up as that stress response, and
Hmm.
as we tap, we break that down, and we have the emotional freedom to move forward and to take those actions. And then we can, as we
Yeah.
take those actions, we move in the direction of what we want, and we'll either find that is the direction that I want to go in, or we may find, oh, I didn't even know that was possible, and then we move in a new direction.
And if only there weren't 1,000 videos on YouTube, free videos of how to do tapping for pretty much
What-
any possible,
it's like
any possible
whatever's bothering you,
situation.
there's a tap for that. And I still have 1,000 more
Yeah.
ideas at least. So new videos every week.
Well, that's one of the things that I was wondering about when I was going through your YouTube, because I wanted to find out how many videos you have. I couldn't find that out. I noticed that you're on YouTube since 2007. Um, but I was wondering, you share a video every Monday, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly.
Hmm.
For so many years already, you've shared so much information out there, and I just couldn't help wondering, weren't you ever afraid that by giving so much, you actually give too much and nobody would actually need you and say like, "Hey, Brad, would you help me? Would you, that you're." And I'm asking this very intentionally because this is first, I sometimes have that in myself. Probably I should tap on it. But I also hear that so often, when I work with people who want to start a business, and then it's like, ooh, but if I share that, then why would people need me?
No, it's an excellent question. And there were definitely times, there was very early on, because I didn't intend to have 1,000 videos on YouTube at the beginning. I made one video thinking, one video called Tap of the Morning. First time I heard about YouTube, I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there's a tapping video on YouTube? I did Tap of the Morning, and that was all I ever intended to do. I had no plans of having this YouTube channel with all these videos. And I did a couple more, and then a colleague of mine made some videos, and I said, "Oh, be careful about not giving too much away." And he said, "You can't give too much away." And it just struck me. It's like, wow, what a concept. And there there have been times where it's like, wow, you give so much away, but I make a good living. There are people who, because there are benefits to working with me directly that you can't get from a video. So I have, group memberships, and I have private clients, and different workshops like that, and programs that are more intense than you can get out of a 5-10 minute video. And the videos help people discover this. They've never been a marketing tool. I have never made, I've made, there are certain promo videos that I've put out on YouTube. It's like, hey, I've got a workshop coming up, something like that. But all of the tapping videos have never had the intention of, okay, this will help people find out about me so they'll buy my products. It's always just, I need to, I get directions from the boss telling me, you need to put this out there. And it's not for me to say, what does the job pay? It's just for me, it's like, okay, these are my marching orders. This is something that's going to help people. And it allows me to be of service and make the world a better place. That being said, even though don't have the intention of being marketing tools, they're great marketing tools, because then people find out about me, and then they say, many people will say, oh, I want to work with Brad more directly.
Yeah.
And then over time, it also, because of YouTube ads, I was able to make money off of that. So, I now make more money even if I did nothing else and I just had the YouTube videos, the money I make off of YouTube ads is more than I used to make at my 9 to 5 day job that I had a decade or 2 decades ago. So there's all kinds of benefits. So when we put ourselves out there with the right intention, life rewards us. You will find a way, if you have an intention of being of service and an intention of living a good life, the universe can make that happen. The universe isn't going to say, well, you can either give stuff away and be of service, or you can hoard it all and make people pay for everything and do it all about the money, but you can't have both.
Yeah.
The universe just it's the universe is far more magnanimous than that.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, you cannot receive if you're not open to give. It's the same process, giving, receiving. It's energy, the flow of
Yeah.
energy. And you mentioned the big boss, and in context of your videos, one of the things that I noticed is that you're very comfortable during the videos, and they seem very. It seems like you don't have a script as if what you're going to say during the video. Is that something that comes to you as you do the tapping?
Yeah, the work comes through me, and I never have a script. I may have a couple of ideas of, okay, I'm going to mention this, but most of the time it may just be the title of the video. It may just be one word. It's like, oh, I should make a video about anxiety. Okay, let's see what happens. Even though I feel this anxiety, and I may have
Mhm.
no idea what what's coming up. It comes through me. So I just try to be an open channel for creativity, which is, I think, the case of all creativity. Whether we're writing a song or writing a book or inventing something, it all comes from source. God,
Yeah.
universe, creator, however you want to phrase that. And
Mm.
I don't push my ideas on what that is, because I want my work to be accessible for as many people as possible. And some people, then, if I say it's God and it's a Christian God and it's this God and it's an old man in a white robe kind of thing, then a lot of people are going to go, I can't use this, because that's not what EFT
Yeah.
is. EFT is just a technique. What we put into it can be individual and personalized, but I want
Yeah.
people to get the benefits of this process, and it's not dependent upon any philosophy or religion.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit more about the videos and the tapping itself. Um, from what I've learned about the process of tapping from watching your videos, I noticed that you always start with there are two things that you have in common with all in all videos in terms of what you say. One of them is taking full responsibility for your own well-being, and the other is I
Hmm.
choose to fully and completely love and accept myself. Can you tell me a little bit more about why these two sentences are always in your videos? Why do you start with
Yeah.
them?
So the basic version of EFT is we decide what the issues that we're going to tap on. So, for instance, let's say I'm really stressed out, and I recognize on a scale of 0 to 10 how stressed. Well, it's about an 8, and I feel it in my shoulders. My shoulders are really tense. So we start by tapping on the side of the hand, saying, even though I feel this stress, I love and accept myself. The original version is, even though I feel this stress, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. A lot of people have trouble saying I love and accept myself, and that shuts them down. So I changed it to I choose to love and accept myself. Because for a lot
Mm,
of people, it's like it just gives them a little bit of a buffer. I'm not
yeah,
just stating I love myself, which I may have trouble saying at the moment, but I might be able to say I choose to love and accept myself.
yeah,
So that just sort of makes it a little bit easier for a lot of folks to use that statement. The And then we would go through all the points saying this stress, this stress, this stress in the basic
Mhm.
version of EFT. The line about taking full responsibility is because putting the videos out there, I don't know who's watching. I don't know what's going on for them.
Mm.
And so it's just a quick little disclaimer of, look, if you're going to watch this video, you need to take responsibility for your own well-being, not
Yeah.
me, because I'm not working with you individually. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on for you. I can't be held responsible for what it, because the tapping itself will calm stress down. But if we go looking for emotional issues, we might feel, we might, as we open that door into that other room and we see the mess, we're going to find, we're likely to
Sure.
find some things that, that don't make us happy. So it's not the tapping that is making us uncomfortable. It's looking at the, that stuff. The tapping gives us the freedom to look at that stuff and to sort it out and to clean it up and to process it. But some people may open that door and find barrels of toxic waste. And if they're on their own and they're not ready for that, they may feel really uncomfortable. And
Mm.
so it's not always a good idea to watch certain tapping videos on your own, just because of if you're feeling more emotionally fragile. So
Yeah.
that's why I always start off by saying, hey, taking full responsibility for your own well-being. Because if you can't do that, probably shouldn't be tapping. It's the same as it's the same as buying alcohol. You know, you're taking responsibility for your own well-being when you
Mm.
buy alcohol, because you can't go and get yourself drunk and fall down and then say to the company that distilled that alcohol, oh, it's your fault. It's like, no, you took responsibility when you purchased that.
Yep. That is true. That is true. Um, I was wondering if you have a couple of minutes to take us through a short tapping. Is it?
I have been waiting for you to ask. I would love to, Raina.
Yes. Okay. So, do you have any? I'm really excited to do this with you. By the way, I mean, I'm tapping with you. I learned a couple of things about tapping, um, and I noticed that sometimes just going through the points of tapping and just repeating something is really helpful. I actually love very much to when I feel the emotion coming up to say I choose to feel a certain way, which now I recognize the buffer of okay, I'm feeling this, but I also have a choice of feeling that as well, and I choose that, so I'm giving myself the time. Um, so for people who haven't done tapping, and I think it's like it's a like a Christmas in what is it, April, that they're going to do some tapping with you. Um, do you have any like short a few tips to help them get up to date?
Yeah, well, so like I just said, the basic version is, we're just tapping with the fingertips of our index and middle finger, and we start by tapping on the side of the hand, and then we repeat whatever is bothering us. So this stress, and as you go through all of these points, you would just say the same issue: this stress, this stress, this stress, and then take a deep breath. And so if the stress was at an 8, you then check again and say, okay, what does it feel like now? And for some people, it'll go from an 8 to a 0 like that. Sometimes it'll go from an 8 to a 7.75. And it's like, okay, I feel a little bit better. And when we're tapping, it's often like peeling the layers of the onion, and we become more aware of, oh, I know why I'm stressed. It's because I have this report due and I don't have all the information I need yet. And we may tap through more and go, oh, you know what? It's not even this report. It's that
Mm.
book report that I failed when I was in the 5th grade, and I got in so much trouble, and I never got over that. And I'm still, every time I have a report due, I still feel tension because of that incident
Yeah.
that tells me that I'm bad at doing reports. And that's great, because now we can sit there. Now we're not just clearing the stress we feel now, we're clearing decades of stress.
Yeah.
So but yeah, the basic version, because as we do this, I'm going to play around with the words and do it the
Mhm.
intuitive style that I do. I don't know what I'm going to say yet because I don't script them, but but the basic version, you don't have to worry about it. You can use EFT without being able to do that. You just say the same phrase over and over on this on the points.
And
So, oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because there's video, but there's also an audio version of the podcast. So for the people who only listen to us, can you just quickly take us through the points?
Absolutely. So the first point is on the side of the hand. So if you are right-handed, you would tap with your fingertips on the edge of your left hand between the wrist and pinky. It's like if you were going to chop boards in a karate class, that's what you use. So gently, you'd be gently tapping there as we go through the setup statement of, even though I have this issue, choose to love and accept myself. The next point we'll tap is the eyebrow point. So right at the beginning of your eyebrow, just above your nose, just to the side, and we'll tap each of these points generally between 5 and 10 times. If a phrase is longer, we might be tapping 20 times. It's okay. So tapping the eyebrow point, and we'd say the phrase like this stress. Then you follow your eyebrow out to the side of your eye, so right at the corner of your eye socket. Tap there. Follow the edge of your eye socket to right under the middle of your eye, just above your cheek. Then right under your nose, just above just above your upper lip. Tap there. Then tapping just below your lower lip, just above your chin. Then right where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. And you can use all of your fingertips or even make a fist and tap where the collarbones just about meet. Next point is about 4 inches below your armpit. And even if there's guys watching or listening, they can probably figure out that's right about bra strap level. So anyone can figure that out. And then finally, top of the head, using all of your fingertips, just tapping around the crown of your head. So those are the 8 points that we're gonna use as we go through this. So as we go through the process, I'll just mention what point, and then I'll say a phrase, and you just repeat back the phrase along with me. So what I'd like everyone to do is go ahead and close your eyes, take a deep breath,
Unless you're driving.
and yes, yeah, good safety tip right now. So if you're not driving, with your eyes closed, and I believe the podcast is called Hail the Queen. So I want you to imagine what that life looks like if when you are hailing the queen and you are living that queen life. Imagine yourself at that level and imagine what your life looks like and say, it's safe for me to have this life. Let that rattle around inside and notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how true that feels. Part of you might feel inclined to say, oh, it is a 10. And I'm going to say, check again, because if you are not already living that life, if you're not already doing everything you can possibly do on a daily basis to create that life, it's because there's resistance. The extent to which we don't have what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we have resistance, because it doesn't, and generally that resistance is there because it doesn't feel safe. So allow yourself to look at that life, allow yourself to think about the actions you could be taking to make that life reality. And notice where you might feel resistance, where you might feel doubt. Notice what thoughts, beliefs, or memories might come up as to why you couldn't or shouldn't have that life. And allow yourself to do this with as little judgment as possible, just allowing yourself to be curious about why do I stop myself? Why do I think I couldn't or shouldn't have this? Just noticing on a scale of 0 to 10 how much resistance might be there. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes and tap it on the side of your hand. Even though part of me is resisting this life, I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Even though part of me is resisting having this life, I choose to love and honor myself anyway. Even though part of me is resisting this life, where I would really be hailing the queen, where I would allow myself to live as a queen, where I would allow myself to really be in my power. Part of me is so excited about that. And part of me is terrified of it, which is why I stop myself so often. And even though I have this resistance, I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself, and maybe anyone else involved. And now tapping the eyebrow point. All this resistance, side of the eye, all this resistance, under the eye, all this fear of being in my power, under the nose, all this fear of feeling more powerful, under the mouth. If I were really in my power, collarbone, I'm afraid I could get myself into all kinds of trouble. Under the arm. If I allowed myself to feel more powerful, top of the head, I'm afraid I might get hurt. Eyebrow point. Or at least I'd have to make changes. Side of the eye. And part of me says I couldn't handle that. Under the eye. Part of me says I don't want to handle that. Under the nose. Part of me says, why do I have to change? Under the mouth. Things are fine just as they are. Collarbone. Who wants to be queen anyway? Under the arm. They say terrible things about you in the tabloids. Top of the head. I'm better off where I'm at. Eyebrow point. So I stop myself from taking action. Side of the eye. I stop myself from even knowing which actions to take. Under the eye. Sometimes I stop myself from even knowing what my goals are. Under the nose. I might say, I don't even know what I want. Under the mouth. And I'm allowing myself to acknowledge. Collarbone. It's just resistance. Under the arm. Because deep down inside, top of the head, I know what I want. Eyebrow point. I know who I choose to be. Side of the eye. And I know that I'm awesome. Under the eye. I am a magnificent child of the universe. Under the nose. Worthy and deserving of the best this world has to offer. Under the mouth. Nothing is too good for me. Collarbone. So I'm clearing my fears. Under the arm. I'm clearing my doubts. Top of the head. Clearing them all the way back through my past. eyebrow point, back through my childhood, side of the eye, back through all the times in my life, under the eye, that I somehow got the message, under the nose, that it wasn't safe for me to succeed, under the mouth, that it wasn't safe for me to stand in my power, collarbone. I'm clearing those misunderstandings, under the arm, and I'm setting myself free to step into my power, top of the head, in body, mind, and spirit. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes again. And again, imagine yourself living that Hail to the Queen life and say, it's safe for me to have this. Just notice how that might feel different. If you were able to rate your resistance before on a scale of 0 to 10, allow yourself to rate that again, and hopefully that number has come way down. And again, it's like peeling the layers of an onion. So you may have a greater awareness of, oh, now I know why I stopped myself. And you may even have specific memories that come up, and you can tap specifically on those memories to clear them out so that you have that greater freedom to take the actions that lead you to the results you want. And thank you for doing so, because your success benefits the world.
I guess you're finished. Didn't want to interrupt
Yeah.
you. All I can say is that perhaps we should have started with the tapping first.
Well, you asked a lot of great questions that prepared folks, especially folks who are unfamiliar with this, who may have some skepticism. So, if we'd started with that, a lot of people might have said, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that." So, hopefully, at the end, folks were more willing to say, "Yeah, I'll give this a try," and hopefully, everyone's feeling at least some shift. Maybe it's just you feel slightly more relaxed. Maybe your shoulders are a little more relaxed, and for some people, it may be, "Oh wow, I can't believe how good I feel right now."
Yep, I can testify to that. Um, well, I guess I have only one question left for you. Where can people find you apart from YouTube?
Yeah, thank you. So, Tap with Brad, tapwithbrad.com is my website. Tap with Brad on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook. So, on those, I have different resources in all those different places, and hopefully have something to benefit most everyone.
Yeah. Well, I hope this conversation, well, I wouldn't say convinced, but at least got people curious to, and especially the tapping we just did, to sit down at home and or on the bench in the park or whatever they feel comfortable doing it and do it and experience um, the amazing effects of tapping. And I guess that would be my message: just to be curious um, and try to keep an open mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on Hail the Queen, for answering, I want to say all my questions, but some of them. I reserve my right
As many as
to
we had time for.
yes, I reserve my right to reach out and continue with my questions some other time. But
Absolutely. I'm here to be of service.
hey there, it's me, Rayna, your host. Thank you for listening or watching. I hope you enjoy this episode. If you'd like to learn more about Hail the Queen, please visit us at arainavanaus.com/podcast, and you can discover more episodes, fun facts, and learn more about Hail the Queen. One more thing before you go, please leave us a review if you're listening on iTunes. This helps us grow. And of course, share Hail the Queen with a friend or family or someone you think might enjoy the show. Thank you and have a magical day.